Greetings, my sweet, sweet dears. I am here with a very exciting video for me, something that I've been itching to share with you for a very long time, something that I've kind of just, I don't know if I've actually discussed it or I just think I've discussed it because I've talked about it with people offline so much that I'm just mixing up the two. Anyway, I'm so happy to be bringing you this video today about the Haindl Tarot. As you can see, we have a very beautiful display that I just kind of set up just to kind of make something pretty to begin with, and also just trying to figure out a thumbnail. So I figured I'd just start the video here. But today we're going to be talking about I don't even know if you would call it like a reading. Yeah, I guess it's like a style of reading, a reading technique called the conundrum, which I found, I want to say a couple of years ago on the Eclectic Tarot forum. And I wanted to share it with you today because I have finally gotten close to the end. And instead of finishing it off camera and then showing you, I decided that with my last couple of cards that I have left to do this project slash reading, that I would do it on camera and show you guys how it's done, just to show you this really cool thing that I found and hopefully get some more people doing it as well. So, like I said, I'm going to share with you the post that's on the Eclectic Tarot forum. I will link it down below so that you can see it for yourself, but I'll be going through it here with some screenshots on the screen. And then I will kind of go through the process, which will make sense when you hear it. And then we'll do like a little test reading at the end. Yeah, so let's jump into that. Okay, so this is my Haindl study notebook. It is unfortunately abysmally empty. Very unfortunately, very empty, except for the one thing that I've been doing in it, which is this conundrum challenge. So let's get into it. Check out the screenshots on the screen. So we're just going to jump into Eclectic Tarot and see what's here. So this is what I found. I think it was like under the sub genre of like Marseille decks, I believe. But the title is called Questionable Methods, number 583, The Conundrum by Melancholic. And they said, here is an interesting method I've been getting great enjoyment out of, and surprisingly, so have quite a few querents. It is called the conundrum, and it is a bit different than my usual fare. I use only the trumps for this, but it could be extended to the pips and courts as well. So step 1 is to prepare a definitive list by assigning 3 to 5 nouns to each card based on your take of the card. Also assign 3 to 5 verbs for each card. So they give the example of the Emperor, which is, I know right here. So take, for example, the Emperor. The nouns that this person has put are nobility, honesty, authority, power. And the verbs are to rule, to defend, to make noble. And so you're going to do this for all of the major cards. For me, I've done it for the majors and the aces. I haven't done all of the majors. I believe I have 3 left, which is what we're going to do on camera here today. But the next step is to find a querent and have the querent draw 3 cards. And using the keywords, you construct a sentence. So you'll have these 3 cards and you will make a sentence out of it. The card 1 will be the subject, card 2 will be the verb, and card 3 will be the object. So you're using the subject, verb, object. And so the example that they had was the fool, the emperor, and the world. And the sentence that they came up with that was, folly makes noble heaven. And so the goal is to try to make it sound good. As they said, try to make it sound good. So by folly, heaven is ennobled. And so the idea is that this is a conundrum because it isn't giving you a direct answer. It's giving you this sort of aphorism or riddle or something to that effect. And I think it's really interesting to do this. So this is kind of why I decided to do it with the Haindl Tarot. What they said for step 3 is to do your spiel, but apparently you're supposed to do this before you read for another person. And I'll just read it here because even though I'm not reading for others, you might be. And I just think it's an important thing to say. There are many ways to read tarot. This is one of the most profound, as the cards speak directly to you and only to you. Only you can understand this message. I cannot know what the cards are telling you. This message is for you and you alone. I am merely translating the images into words for you. This message may not make any sense to you at first and may require you to reflect on what it means. No one has ever failed to come to the realization of the card's message. It may be immediately obvious, or it may take a day or two of careful reflection to understand. Most people will get the message within a week, usually less. In a few rare instances, it has taken as long as 3 weeks. Call me as soon as you understand the message, or if you haven't understood within a week, call me and we'll work through it together. So that's pretty much the spiel that you give beforehand. The idea is that it's meant to unfold with a little bit of time potentially. And they said that the last step is to obviously give this conundrum to your querent or to yourself. And this, in my case, it says most querents will give you a slice of WTF, but to reassure them and to have total confidence. So tell them that they'll understand soon. And it says, oddly enough, they will. And, they kind of close up by saying that this method sets off an interesting effect in the querent's mind, and they almost always have an epiphany. And it's truly interesting to see how people solve their own dilemmas by reflecting on these conundrums. Conundrums seem to work a bit like koan's Zen riddles. Throw a few out there and see. It's worth it just to watch the process. And believe it or not, I've gotten more rave reviews and recommendations with this method than any other I've used, even though I'd not really read the cards at all. It says, please try a few and post your results here, even if it goes horribly wrong. And so this, I don't know, it makes me want to discover so many more things. But it has taken me forever to do this because I just kind of would sit down and I went about this in a different way than was suggested. The poster talks about kind of choosing these nouns and verbs based on your impressions of the cards. But what I decided to do was to kind of run through the book, because this book is just so in-depth and there's always a lot in here that I don't really think of. And because the deck is quite, there's a lot of depth here, I wouldn't want to go based on my general impressions, but I do think that's something to talk about later. But let me just explain. So I went through and I read at first I was skimming, to be honest, and I just wanted to see what words would pop out to me. And then I would kind of write down all the words that stuck out to me. And then I would choose 3 to 5 at the end for when I finish reading. So for the Wheel of Fortune, I would read through skim through the whole thing, and then based on that I would pick my 3 to 5 verbs and so on and so forth. And yeah, like I said, I decided to go about that because I wanted to really I wanted the words to be in the language of this deck and not necessarily based on my general tarot knowledge, if that makes sense. I really wanted it to be specific to this deck and the intention behind it. However, I think it would be really interesting had I done this completely without reading the book at all, and just by the images and obviously my own tarot knowledge, because I think there's a lot to be found within the images just by your own impression of the card. I don't know why this camera wants to focus on this over here. But yeah, if I was just to look at this card, I think there's so many words, nouns, and verbs that I could come up with. I'm sure you could just on your own as well. But yeah, I decided to go based on the book. So let me just show you kind of what my little book entry looks like. It's the only thing that's pretty much filled in this entire book, and it's just a bunch of this stuff. And I have the aces here, and I've done a couple of tests, which I'll leave out. But yeah, I kind of went through and did this whole thing. And for example, where's alchemy? Yeah. So alchemy, I kind of went through. And so some of the words that I came up with based on what was written in the guidebook was elixir, polarity, purpose, choice, unity, foundation, victory, initiation, conscious, water, separate, which actually that's not necessarily, gold, fruit, violet, measurement, and fire. And then some of the verbs that came up were blend, transmute, combine, separate, shine, liberate, initiate, experience, obscure, cloud, distort, and measure. Yeah, and so then I would choose the ones that I felt were the most compelling or felt the best to me, and go from there. And so for alchemy, I ended up going with, for the noun, elixir, polarity, victory, unity, fruit, and gold. That's 6 because I'm bad and I don't follow the rules well. And I'm going to have to take this out of the frame because it just won't focus on anything else. But yeah, and for the verbs, I chose transmute, blend, liberate, experience, and measure. Yeah, so those are the words that I chose. And so that just gives you an understanding. You can kind of see here what I chose for like the aces, like the Ace of Wands. I kind of went through and did my thing here. Yeah, so this is, my hefty pages here. Just 2 pages that have taken me, I don't know, certainly over a year to do. Geez Louise, it's been a while. But what I'm going to do now is, right now, the only cards left that I have are the Priestess, the Emperor, and the Empress. So we've got, let's put this away. I've got the Emperor, the Empress, and the Priestess. 2, 3, and 4 is all we have left. So I'm just going to do them kind of on camera with you. I'm going to do a little bit of it, just showing you here and there kind of the decisions that I'm making as I go, just so that you can get a sense of what it looks like. But we'll kind of mostly be speeding through it and jumping to the end where we're going to play a little bit with the cards. So I'm really excited, you guys. I'm so excited. I can't wait to show you what I come up with. Okay, we're going to jump in with our Priestess. I'm just most excited to work with her. I find her to be really compelling. I love this bubble. We're going to actually just have to start with, I'm going to have to rotate this because that's how I write, and we're going to have to move everything. We are going to just start down here with Priestess, and my handwriting is like the worst version of my handwriting, so please just let it be, don't worry about it. So yeah, let's start where she's going to be right at the very beginning. Oops, we have gone too far. Here we go. So the High Priestess, first we're just going to look up here, right? Like, does that feel good? I like rain. Rain is good. All right, so we have bubble and rain already. And it's really hard to write when I'm trying to write for the camera. I'm really not going to focus on my handwriting at all. Yeah, don't judge. Okay. Wow, okay, so we're starting off pretty wild with these opening sections. I'm not going to read them. I don't know, because I don't understand what YouTube's rules are around certain topics. But we are, you know what, we are going to write this here. And we're going to, use this word here, just without the L. Okay, what I found really interesting is that a lot of the cards in this deck have this word of initiation. So many of them. I think this deck, what I've realized is this is a deck of initiation and initiatory passages, which is something that obviously I kind of already knew, but just seeing it in the guidebook being mentioned so many times. Tarot, you can see that across many cards and in even just the doing of it as a whole, the opening of portals and the passageways that we walk through in the halls of change. I don't know what I'm saying, but you get the vibes, right? It's just everywhere in this deck. Like, find me a singular major card that on the first page it doesn't say something about being an, you know, initiation or throughout the whole thing. But anyway, I just find that really interesting and wanted to point that out because you can see that with a lot of them that we sort of, that word comes up. And so I try to be quite selective with that one. Another thing that I found really interesting is that the more that I did it, the more adjectives I wanted to include. But I didn't really come up with a different sentence structure that would include adjectives, and so I really just wanted to stick to the basics. But I think alchemy was the only one, you can see it up here, it's kind of out of focus, but it was the only one that I ended up putting a couple of adjectives for because I was just like, I kind of just have to. But for the most part, I've stayed away from them and tried to see if I could make that word into a noun or a verb so that it would fit. So yeah, let me just read this through and I will show you kind of all of the ones that I come up with and then how I kind of choose from there. All right, let's jump back in here and see what we've come up with. So for the priestess here, let's look at her again. We love her, right? Very much looking forward to seeing if she comes up in any readings. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to zoom or how much I'm going to be able to zoom here so that you can see the words that I've come up with. Yeah. It's very interesting. Oh my god, this is so bad. I really was not expecting to put my handwriting on the internet. My handwriting is so much better than this. This is just like my scratch when I'm like, don't care. And also the angle that I'm at is just making it worse than like all my other ones. Actually, they're not that bad. This is just really shit. But anyways, I'll just go over with you the words that I've come up with and what I'm going to pick here. So a word that came up a couple of times was possibility and impossibility. And so I wanted to really stick with that one. I've figured out pretty early on, or I should say it was one of the first ones that I said that's going to be the one. Possibility. We also have quiet, goddess, stillness, existence, wonder, leader, priestess. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to use that, but I wrote it down, literally forgetting that I was working on the priestess. Initiation, legs, vagina, rain, bubble, commitment, unconscious. The other one that was there was mist. And let's go over verbs before we jump into any other decisions here. We have emerge, blur. Emerge is another word that I wanted to say comes up a lot in a lot of cards. Initiation and emerge I've seen come up for many cards. And I'm actually just going to pop open my list that I've chosen so that I can make sure I'm not kind of using the same ones again and again. But I literally don't remember what I've read to you. So yeah, emerge, blur, surge, return, crouch, meditate, keep, look, and fall/falling. So I know that I want to do crouch because that's a very unique word. And I feel like it could come up well in a conundrum and have, I don't know, I just feel like it could play well in this conundrum situation. Ooh, the sun is coming out from behind the clouds, guys. And I really like blur as well. I think that makes a lot of sense for the priestess as a whole and just kind of the mystery that she represents. Interestingly enough, I didn't put mystery here. I don't know, sometimes it feels a little too on the nose. I try to be subversive with this deck as well, as much as I am trying to make sense. Yeah, I don't really put mystery, obviously does come up a lot, but we're already working within mystery, so I don't want to, you know, it feels a little too mystery within a mystery within a mystery type of thing. We're like doing tarot in the High Priestess in a mysterious reading style. So let's not, I think. Between bubble, rain, and mist, I really want to do rain or mist. Bubble is nice. Sometimes I just write the word so that I could just, you know, write the word. But I, you know, once I come back, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely was never going to get chosen. It's interestingly enough, I also find that body parts come up for some of the cards as well. I don't know that I've chosen them very often, but I noticed that they do come up, and I do like almost choose them many times. And that's why I'm kind of glad that I've done this on a page, because I can always come back and see what options I chose and maybe change them if I feel the need to. But yeah, I know for the universe, I chose, one of the words was spine. So here, just between these two body parts, I almost want to choose both, to be honest with you, because I think they both are very relevant here. Yeah, I find it was just funny because legs comes up, and obviously, the only thing that's showing here are her hands. I really like Surge as well. I forget what the context was, but I kind of like it. I'm going to think some more, and we'll come back when I've made some decisions. Okay, I think we've chosen here. I'm not exactly sure. I might pick more. So we have 6 nouns, because honestly, what I've realized was I didn't want to put vagina as one of the main words. I do think it would only qualify in very particular situations. And so it's a word that I didn't want to leave out, because I don't know, it just started with that word like within 3 sentences, and I don't know, it's, you know, primacy and recency. It was just one of the first words that stuck out to me, because how could it not? But I chose possibility, unconscious, mist, legs, and leader were the other ones. I was also toying with commitment, because in the divinatory message it talked about, like, if it's a love reading, you should be alone and not really make any commitments. But then in the reverse, it talked about making commitments. And so it was just a word that kind of stuck out to me as one that I wouldn't have expected. So I guess we're going to put it too late. Done and dusted. So we have seven nouns, because I'm crazy. And for verbs, we have blur, crouch, meditate, and keep. And surge, I guess. I don't know about surge, actually. I think blur, crouch, meditate, and keep. I want to keep it simple. I've already chosen 7 for the other one, so we have 10 instead of... well, I guess we have 10, yeah, so... Oh, no, did I choose 7 and 4? I guess we have 11. Yikes. Moving on. Technically 6. We'll call it 6 instead of 7. But yeah, let's move on. I'm just going to do a couple of other ones, and now that you've gotten a chance to see what the process is like, see how I kind of go about it, I think now is a good time to let me kind of finish this off, and then I will just kind of share maybe the words that I've come up with. Then from there, I'm going to jump into the reading, and I think I'm going to leave a PDF in the description linked of just all the words that I chose for this deck, in case you want to use them and you don't want to have to think of them yourself. But you can also go in and edit it and kind of add and take away where it makes sense for you, and it just makes more sense kind of while I'm talking. If you would be able to pull it up, then at least you can have the reference, and I don't have to be talking about something that you can't even, you know, reference. So yeah, let's do that. Alrighty, my dears, we are back. I am back the next day, so that's why you might notice a little bit of a difference in lighting. I realized that I also not only had the priestess, the empress, and the emperor to do, but I also had to do justice, which I forgot. And honestly, just after filming that video for the first time in a long time, I was a little bit kind of like overstimulated by the whole thing. So yeah, we're back today. I finished the rest of them. As you can see, I really squeezed them down here. Sorry, wrong way as usual. I forget how to zoom on my camera. But yeah, I squeezed justice up here, and I squeezed the Emperor and the Empress down there. If you'll notice too, one thing that I found really interesting, besides the words that were common among the, across cards like emerge, initiation, even words like desire, obviously like birth and rebirth and things like that come up a lot. It's just a deck that has a very clear, you know, theme and has a lot of, very, I don't know, just motifs that you can really see across. What I realize is that that means that I've read this entire book, and I'm super excited about that. Like, because I went about it in this way, choosing to go through and do it based on the entries in the book and not just my impressions of the cards, then that means I fit in a study of and like a reading of the entire book pretty much, which is really cool. I don't think up until that point I had read the entire book. No, I don't know if that's true. I don't remember. I never did like an on purpose study, but I read entries, I think as they made sense. I think I attempted to read the entire book before, but I don't think I ever have. At least not full way through. I think I've read all the entries at one point or another, but never just, whatever. But anyways, it took me a long time, so it's not even like I remember everything from everywhere. But yeah, that's a cool accomplishment, especially since this deck has 2 books, one for the majors and one for the minors, and I've read this entire thing, which is really, really cool. And that's really exciting. Yeah, and what I found also was really interesting just seeing for these last few cards, I noticed that I wrote a lot more for options as I was going through for these last ones. And if you'll notice, like I had so many less in the beginning, and you can just see how the more I went on, the more options I created for myself. And yeah, so this is just a really fun thing to look at. And I'm just really excited. But what I ended up doing was printing out all of the, you can tell the different colors. My paper is so white. Yeah, I put in all of the ones that I chose here, so that way I could have this to reference and I wouldn't have to look at my phone. I just also wanted to see what it would look like all printed out, because what an accomplishment. Yay, I did it. But I thought now would be a good idea. Also, I just wanted to say this, like if you guys would want to do a study of the haindl, I'd definitely be interested. I don't know. Let me know if anyone would be interested in something like that, whether it be sort of behind the scenes, sort of on like kind of, I don't know, Zoom or something like that. Or if you'd like it to be something that I make across videos, which honestly will be a little bit less likely for me to keep up with just because it would be essentially solo. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out because, if you're interested in any type of particular study content, because, clearly I have a lot to do. I find it very difficult to do something like this, but I'm interested in doing it. So anyway, it's my haindl book, and I finally finished 1 page of things, but it's so beautiful. Like something about it is just so beautiful to me. It's accomplishment. It feels good. And I'm happy to share this with you, but I find it really interesting. If you were to go about something like this, you definitely, probably would have done it differently than I would. And I'm sure that I would have come up with completely different words had I not chosen to do it this way. So I'm really excited because, yeah, the way I went about it, I was keeping the conundrum in mind while doing it, while also at the same time not trying to make it fully dictate, because there's no way to predetermine or pre-know what cards I'm going to get and how I'm going to want them to play together, because every card has different nouns and verbs, and so they're going to like mix in completely unique ways. So that's really exciting. Yeah, and I find it really interesting that maybe if I had done them in sort of a numerical order, how differently, because my method sort of changed throughout the time, or I should say my perspective, since I did it over such a long period of time, that I probably would have chosen different words. I don't know. It's a very interesting thought that I'm having around, like, how would this have been different had I started with the Fool instead of the way that I did it before? And why is this way? That's bothering me because this is how I wanted it. And yeah, I don't know. Enough of that, like, kind of going back and forth on my method. Let us do a test reading before we, because that's kind of the fun part of this video. I don't know, should I do it with my like vintage version, or should I do it with my, is this right? Oh shoot, what have I done? I think this is all of them right here. Why is it cut right there? One thing that I might do is actually go back and do something with this card that has to do with maybe like the introduction and the prologue and the epilogue. I don't know if there's a prologue, but I know there's an epilogue. Why would there, actually I'm not going to say why would there be a prologue, because why not? Anyway, I don't know, which one should I do it with? What do you guys think? That's hard. I feel like maybe I'll do one of each, just because even though they're the same, they feel very different to me, and they probably come across quite differently on camera as well. And they just carry different energies. But I guess the question that we might want to try, and I'm going to pull out a little note paper that we can do this on. Let's use this little notebook that's one of my favorites. And we'll call it, yeah, our haindl. Let me zoom in here. Our haindl. Oops. Conundrum. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Okay, so what question are we going to ask? I think something that might be interesting, and I don't know if this is too big of a stretch to even approach here, but I wanted to ask kind of what lesson are we learning as a collective right now? I think maybe just coming off of my last card being justice, I'm thinking of that word like necessity and, you know, sort of seeing the truth and weighing things and examining. I just feel it even talks about in the card about like past lives as well as the current life, and how I think it talked about like how some cultures view justice as a like multi-life thing. I don't know. Let me actually pull it up because I don't want to say it incorrectly. Yes, it says the teachings of many cultures tell us that true spiritual justice requires many lifetimes. And so it talks about, yeah, just having this influence of past lives as well. And even with the Buddha, kind of getting to that enlightenment by seeing clearly all his lives. So, yeah, I just feel like history is a sort of past life situation as well. And so, I don't know, I'm just thinking of the collective, whatever that may be. I don't even know how to necessarily define what collective I'm speaking of, but I feel like, you know, I guess if you're watching this video, you and maybe your view of it, I don't know, it's a spiritual thing, so I think it will encompass where it's meant to encompass. So let me just write that out. Okay, so yeah, what lesson is the collective learning right now? I think maybe with my other deck, we'll go ahead and choose a more personal, practical question. Let's see. What lesson is the collective learning right now? I don't know, my goodness, I'm so nervous and excited. Let's see. I want to pull this hidden card right here. And this one right here. And this second card right here. Okay, we have our 3 cards, my friends. Let us see what we got. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, wow, look at that. Isn't that stunning? Love it. Okay, all right, our subject. The Empress. Okay. Our verb is the ace. Okay. Object, the Tower. Very interesting that we have this sort of verticality. This deck just makes me think in the phallic direction all the time because it's just constantly talking about, you know, the metaphorical connections of the body and spiritual things. So, all right, let's look here and see what we've got. So for the Empress, we have door, life, mother / motherhood, psyche, and thought. I'm thinking door, life, psyche, or thought. I don't know that mother or mother. Oh, maybe mother. Let's see. Well, actually, let's go through the rest first. Okay, so then for the Ace of Wands, we have align, alchemize, embody, ascend, or incinerate. Alchemize just hits me really well, but so does incinerate. And then lastly, for the Tower, we're going to go to release. Oh no, sorry. Revelation, revolution, explosion, monster, or isolation. Okay. All right. Let's go. Okay, this is hard. Maybe I should zoom out a little actually so that we can get a bigger view of what's happening here. Okay. Let me see. Let's go with the Empress. Let's see. If we were to go with Psyche. Let's say the Psyche embodies. And what's the last one? The Tower. I don't know, I like monsters. Not gonna lie. But we could also say the Psyche alchemizes monsters. We could even say mother incinerates. Isolation. I like that. I just try to play with it and see which one like feels the best. And I want to play with the word revolution for the Tower. I really like that, especially because I don't know what I like to what I find really interesting about the Tower here is this sense of like humanity, sort of destroying itself. I mean, it talks a lot about monsters in this card and really destruction, right? And so we're looking at the Empress, this Ace of Wands, and destruction and looking at destruction here. And so let's I get it. Okay. We're going to use door and alchemize. I don't know. This is what came to me, even though it's not necessarily within the convention of, the conundrum. But I'd like to think that the door to alchemize revolution. Genuinely, though, it could also be the door. You say the door embodies revelation. Yeah, I sometimes when I go through this, I find that a lot of times the first thing that made sense is the one that I will go with because it's the one that was almost like the most it was just, I don't know, like I said before, primacy and recency, I guess. But I really liked this, the Psyche embodies monsters, like the juxtaposition of these two. and the psyche alchemizes monsters. I think alchemizes can... And the reason why I used psyche for this card was there was a lot of mention of like mythology here with Eros and Psyche and like that whole thing. So I just found that for some reason, especially because of the dual meaning, well, because that's where the word comes from, I felt like it would be a relevant word to use, and it would be something really interesting that maybe might not have been thought of. But it's also here. Like we have the eye, we have the Empress here with this snake in the door, and there's so much here that can speak to the psyche as we understand it. And so I like that there's this alchemizing of the monster here, and that's what the Empress can do. Like that is a lesson that we're learning. You can say mother, the mother, as you could see that as like Mother Earth alchemizes monsters, or something like that. But I also like focusing on this door as well, that there's this sort of portal that we're walking through. And this is too much of an explanation, to be honest, but I just want to kind of walk you through it and see pretty much the thought process that's going to happen when these cards are drawn and when I'm translating this conundrum. And the door embodies revelation. I also really like that. Like alchemize is great, but I like the door to alchemize revolution. Like you really have to walk through it, but that it's clearly not an easy path. But I also like the door embodies revelation. Once again, I feel like that's maybe a little bit more of not a positive spin, but maybe an easier spin on it. So I don't know, which one would you choose? And maybe you would choose a completely different one based on the words that I chose, or that maybe even that you would choose for these cards. But yeah, let's move on to just one more, just because I think it's fun. Let's do that. All right, I'm kind of just a little bit running out of light, but I figured let us go, which, by the way, I ended up going with the answer of what lesson is the collective learning right now, is which door alchemizes a revolution. I'll leave that there. But I thought, yeah, I'm losing light, and this video has been quite long, but fun, and just exciting. But I wanted to put maybe a sort of personal question, but that's also a little bit open-ended. And it is, what do I need most as I make this transition? I'm personally in a transition right now of living spaces. And so, yeah, I just wanted to, just check in with, what do I need most as I make this transition? This is for me personally. Obviously, if it resonates, then that's amazing. And that's why I wanted to keep it a little bit more open-ended. But yeah, all right. Let us go. What do I need most as I make this transition? Bing, boom. Here you, Heidi. Oh, I didn't mean to turn it over, but I did. That's interesting. Alrighty, you. All right, we got our cards. Let's see. Why are we getting aces? This is supposed to just be the majors, but I did do the aces, so they're included. Okay, so subject, verb, object. So for the subject, we have the Ace of Swords. And for the Ace of Swords, our words are vision, clarity, thought, and realm. For the Devil, we have our verbs are desire, explore, scavenge, bury, and awaken. And for Alchemy, this is the only one that also has adjectives. So we have elixir, polarity, victory, unity, fruit, and gold, as well as adjectives of ageless and precious. Okay, that's a lot of words, so I'm gonna have to start writing. Here. We're gonna just keep them here. Let's see, what are we doing? I like for our first noun, I don't know, clarity was the first thing that came to mind that I really liked. Clarity and thought, I guess. I don't know, something about clarity and thought, but they could all work anyway. And then for the devil, I really liked bury. And bury, scavenge, and awaken, I think caught my eye the most. And for alchemy, I don't know, I always like fruit and gold are just so good. But polarity as well. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is I don't know, clarity, berries, polarity. Why can't I write? That's the first thing that comes to mind, but I don't know. We also have thoughts, awaken, gold. Like, that's weird. What do I need the most? Let's even look at another one for the swords. Also, there's vision and realm. I don't know. I'm gonna put them both here just because they're still good. And they're very interesting words. With the devil, okay, so try not to read too much into the cards like I did last time. Like, I don't know. I guess this could be read as good or bad, but this is usually bad and this is a mix, right? So we have these sort of mixed in the middle of a not so great thing. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to read anymore. I went through all of these. Options. Clarity berries polarity. Thoughts awaken gold. Thoughts may scavenge fruit or gold. Clarity awakens unity. Clarity is able to awaken an ageless fruit. With vision, you may awaken precious gold. Clarity is a barrier of polarity. That is just another way of saying this one. Thoughts explore gold, and vision desires fruit. They're all good. They all can work. Let me know in the comments which one would you choose. This one's a little bit more personal for me, so I feel like I have to pick one. Obviously, there's the first one that I chose that just, primacy and recency. I'm like up here and down here. I like vision desires fruit and clarity berries polarity. I think those are my favorite too. This feels more of a conundrum and this feels more clear to me. So I would probably choose this one simply because I would want it to unfold. But also, I don't know, listen, clearly I have a problem with polarity. Clarity buries polarity. That's what I have to go with. All right. So we've done it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you stuck around to the end, as I like to say sometimes, I feel like, I don't know, I just feel closely connected to those of you who watch my videos all the way through, and I feel very, very grateful for that. And although I'm here alone, I very much enjoy the feeling of knowing that you are here with me, and I really value that and appreciate that. So thank you so much for being here. If you're still here, please leave me a spiral emoji in the comments so that I know you watched all the way to the end, and so that we can embrace this beautiful language and journey that is exploring the Haindl Tarot. Once again, let me know if you're interested in, I don't know, in any sort of particular, if you're interested in a Haindl study, let me know. But also if you're just interested in any particular Haindl content that you're interested in. As you know, this is one of my favorite decks of all time. Might be my number one, just the way that I always talk about it. I should probably just say that it is from now on. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. I don't even know how else to say it that I appreciate you, but I just want to keep saying it. But I will stop here. Love you dearly. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye, my dear.